Welcome to Empower You, the podcast for women who are done faking fine and ready to come home to themselves. I'm your host, Sarah Hofing, a psychology grad turned spiritual life coach, mom of 3, and military spouse. If you've spent your life holding it all together, doing what's expected, keeping the peace, staying in control, but deep down you know something has to change, you're in the right place. Here we talk about what it really means to move from fear to freedom, from burnout to inner trust. Through raw conversations and soul-led solo episodes, you'll hear stories of women who have stopped performing and started trusting, and find tools to help you do the same. Each episode is a chance to exhale, to feel seen, and to remember that you don't have to control everything to live a life that feels like yours. Let's begin. Hi everyone, welcome back. I am doing a solo episode today and it's all about safety, comfort, and stepping into the unknown. So I just want to start with asking you a question. Have you ever stayed in something you didn't want, like a job, a habit, or even silence just because it felt safer than the unknown? This is something that is coming up a lot for me with my clients. Last week we started the self-love sessions, and I swear every single person that I worked with was talking about safety and about how they didn't feel safe in whatever situation they were in. For those of you that don't know, the self-love sessions are a container. It's a one-on-one container that are 6 weeks long, and we work together for 6 weeks intensively. So I really wanted to talk about this, especially with everything going on in the world. Our nervous systems cling to what's familiar. And so today we'll explore why and how to gently expand into new realities without forcing or shaming ourselves. Because this is what's hard when we're expanding and we're trying to figure out how to get out of the safety that our nervous system craves. It can be really scary. So the nervous system, why does it need safety? Our bodies are wired for survival, not growth. So whatever's familiar feels safe. So actually, even though we want to have those changes, we want to have a new job, we keep going to that same job over and over and over again because we know the people, we know what's expected of us, we know our schedule, we know how it feels. And so our body is wired to hold on to that survival response of knowing and things being familiar. But if we were to quit the job, there's that uncertainty. Will I find something better? Will what I go to, is that better? Is that something, and you see a lot of people who are like, well, I'll find a job and then I'll quit my job. Not many people just quit the job and say, I'll figure it out, because that is scarier than being in a familiar position. And I mean financially too, right? There's a lot of safety in knowing you have something that's coming up. And, I have a few opinions about that because I really feel like we create our own reality. And sometimes I find when you release something, even though it's really scary and you don't know if you're going to have a safety net to support you, something bigger and better comes in because you've just made room. So I've noticed that in my own life, but staying in a job that drains us can actually lower our energy. Some other examples of other than the job is avoiding to speak up because silence feels safer than judgment. That happens, quite often, what I've seen with people, and coping habits like food, TV, or alcohol. I am very open about my journey with alcohol, and I have not drank any alcohol for 16 years. Yes. My anniversary was just this past May, 16 years. And food is a really big one for me. So I will notice that when, and I'm really have had to work on this a lot. And I actually did a group coaching on emotional eating, and it was really like rooted into fear and control and feeling safe, right? Because what I noticed with myself and what I wanted to help other people with was that let's pretend that I get a text message from someone. It's from a friend, and I wasn't expecting this message. And it's feeling very out of control. It's feeling very much like I'm being called out on something, or, let's pretend like it has that kind of vibe to it where you notice something and you're taken off guard. Maybe it's even something, this has happened to me lots of times with my kids' school, where my kids have learning disabilities. And so, especially at the start of the year, where it's like you're preparing yourself for all of the emails about like, okay, they're not doing this, or we need extra this, or whatever. And so it can be very triggering where I'll look at my email and I'll feel myself get really triggered, and I'll feel my body responding to that unsafety and just feeling like something's wrong. I'm out of control. This isn't how I thought my day was going to go. Now I have to figure this out. So all of these things are happening in my thought process, and my body is responding. It needs to soothe me, and it needs to comfort me to allow myself to shove the uncomfortableness down, right? To shove that like lack of safety down. And so literally what I do is I don't even notice that I'm doing this. And as I'm feeling these feelings and I'm reading this message, I'm going to the kitchen and I'm grabbing food, usually something sweet. And I find something, and definitely years ago, I would just eat and I didn't know how much I was eating. And I would just allow myself to physically soothe that piece. And it's really interesting from an energetic perspective when you think about emotional eating, because you feel out of control. And like if you think about your throat chakra, right, being at your throat and your communication piece of that chakra, and then you think about like fear, safety, like that's all in your root. And so I like to think about it like I'm literally trying to bring stuff down to my root, like bring food down to my root, because I can't comfort it energetically. So I'm doing it with food, and I'm allowing it to go through my digestion and out my root, right? So from an energetic standpoint, I always think that's very interesting. And I mean, we do this with so many things. We do it with alcohol. My husband, when he's had a hard day, he will watch hours of TV downstairs at night and watch movies. And it's like, I know that he just is numbing because he needs to disassociate. And I do think there's a healthy balance, but we need to feel our feelings and we need to feel uncomfortable. In order for there to be change, we need to bring awareness to it. And that's the big thing that I want to talk about is how do we do that? How do we bring awareness to these pieces of ourselves? And how do we start, once we notice that that pattern is there, how do we start moving it? Because when you are stuck in comfort and when you are stuck in these positions that feel uncomfortable, it's a cage. If you're in misaligned work, if you're in a relationship that is not loving, if you are quieting your voice constantly and not actually speaking your truth and you're repeating old patterns, then you're in a cage and you're not allowing yourself to change. And it's because your body wants to feel safe. And so that survival response that your nervous system is giving you is keeping you safe. And it's like, thank you, body, for doing this. But you want more. You want more. You want to get out of this cage. So this is where I teach people the sacred pause. And this is introducing awareness before you react. So it's like there's this little in-between spot that's the sweet spot. So let's use the example of me when I'm going into the kitchen and I want to eat food to disassociate and to allow myself to start feeling safe and comforted. So I get the text message or I get the email from the school and I see it come in and I can feel the response happening in my body. So I need to bring awareness to my body. I need to get into my body. So something that I teach a lot of my clients is anchoring. So anchoring is something that you can do where you can touch a pressure point. And I'm just doing it on my hand where I can press I like to press just right here on my wrist, and I'll just kind of press on this spot or just feel. Sometimes I'll just squeeze my hands. And what I'm doing is I'm anchoring and I'm getting myself back into my body. So it's like from an energetic perspective, I like to think of it as a balloon that's full of helium, and you're that balloon and you're just like floating in the air aimlessly. And what we want to do is we want to anchor that balloon and we want to take it and we want to tie it to something. Okay. And so when we're in our mind and we're in our thoughts and we're just letting ourselves fly free. So in my mind, I'm saying, oh my gosh, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting this email. I can't believe that I'm already getting this email about my kids. I'm going to have to think about this, this, and this. I'm going to try to figure out if we can get, and it's like I'm spiraling and I'm thinking of all the things and I'm trying to control the situation. And I'm that balloon that's in that energy of my thought process is now taking me away, right? And I'm not grounded anymore. So what we want to do is we want to get you back into your body. And so it's really anchoring and allowing yourself to find a spot that you can press and to be able to feel your body and know that your body is here and you want to get into your body. Because often when we don't feel safe, we escape our body, just like we talked about. So we want to get back into the body. Then what happens is that once we do this, then we're able to kind of slow our thinking down and allow ourselves to start creating that pause, start breathing, feeling the body, allowing yourself to take some nice deep breaths. Notice and name it. Like, I feel scared. I feel out of control. And then offer yourself some compassion. Allow yourself to know that it's going to be okay. I always say to clients and friends, do you remember what you were feeling unsafe about or what you were worried about this time last year? Do you remember? Because I don't. And at the time, it felt like such a big deal, but I don't even know what it is now. So why are we wasting our time spinning about it when we can ground ourselves, allow ourselves to get back into our body and know that it's going to change. It's going to shift. That's one thing that is certain about this lifetime is that everything is going to shift. Everything is going to change. So why not change with awareness? Why not be in control of that change? So I want to give you 5 practical tools for expanding beyond comfort. Okay. So we just talked about the sacred pause. So that's what we just worked on, was the sacred pause, allowing yourself to have that space in between the situation that triggers you and the reaction. That sacred pause is key, and it's bringing awareness. It's coming back into your body, and it's allowing yourself to recognize and to allow yourself to feel the feelings. And it sucks. It really sucks. Feeling the feelings sucks, but it's the hard work. It's like you're in the trenches, you're doing the hard work when you're feeling the feelings. And that's what you're bringing yourself out of safety and you're bringing yourself into the uncomfortable because you're allowing yourself to feel the feelings. And I know I've talked about this before, but anytime I've worked with people and they've said, I don't like doing yoga. I'm like, you don't like to sit with yourself. You don't like to be with yourself and your own thoughts. And that worries me. And so this is part of it, where you're actually sitting and allowing yourself to be in those thoughts and to feel the feelings, be in your body and bring that awareness. So the other thing is micro shifts. That's the second one that I want you to take away. Take small steps. And I am a very intense personality and I love to do big things, right? But sometimes we have to take small steps in order for our nervous system to be able to catch up. Because when it's like a huge shift, it's just like think of it like when I feel like most of us have been on a diet, 99% of us. I don't really know any woman who hasn't been on a diet, which is so sad. That's another episode. But when I have done that and I remember the night before, like binge eating, and just like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to eat this for another 90 days. I'm going to shove it in my mouth as quickly as I can, barely even tasting it. And then the next day, I'm doing like super, super clean eating. And and then I'm getting like sugar craving crashes and just like a mess, right? I'm all over the place. And so that's where it's like the micro shifts of just like allowing your nervous system to do bit by bit by bit and to lead up to it. So small habits over time, that's going to make a big difference. And then you're not going to notice it. It's not going to feel like so much of a shock. So somatic anchors, this is the third one. So we talked about anchors, so the touch, so being able to touch and just kind of get back into your body. Breathing. I use breathing so much with my clients, and it's like if you can take some nice big breaths, and I always like to really elongate, like from the throat all the way down to the root. So nice big breath in, coming all the way to the throat, and then exhale, bringing it all the way down and really making it feel like it's an elevator that's moving. And that's allowing you to anchor and to touch in with your body. Movement. One of my clients, her homework this week was to move, because when we can move and we can dance, we can get back in our body. We feel our body. We're connected. So this is all ways that you can remind your body that it's safe. So as you're feeling those triggers, you're doing those things, those somatic anchors, in order to calm your body, put it at ease. So it's just like how I said that I would do emotional eating. These are the healthier ways in order to come back to your body, right? Safety scripts. So you can do mantras like discomfort is not danger. So just because I'm feeling uncomfortable doesn't mean I'm not safe, right? And it's like allowing yourself to write something down, and even reading it. You can write it down and then, or just have it on your fridge. I would do mantras when I was helping myself with emotional eating. I would do mantras and put it on my fridge and just let myself know that, and it wasn't in a shameful way. Don't do mantras that feel shamey. Allow yourself to feel empowered and get to the root of what's happening. Make it about safety. So even though it was about emotional eating, I knew that at the root of it, I was feeling unsafe. That was my trigger. It had nothing to do with the person. It had to do with the safety and lack of control. So celebrate discomfort. So this is the last one. Celebrate discomfort. Reframe fear as proof of growth. Like, it's okay to feel uncomfortable. We try to numb it so much. Our society tries to numb it like crazy. It's okay. That means you're growing. That means you're changing. And what are you going to do with that? That is my question. What are you going to do? Like, celebrate it and then, grow again. Keep growing. Keep feeling uncomfortable. Push that bar further and further and further. And just like keep ripping that Band-Aid off, because that's where the true change happens. And that's where you're really going to change your reality. So allow yourself to celebrate it. So change will feel unsafe at first because it's supposed to. There's no way around it. There's no easy button for this. So the more you repeat small, compassionate steps, the more your body rewires into new realities. And the more your body is able to feel safer and safer with what you're doing, right? Because it's like you jump and then it's like, okay, well, that wasn't as scary as I thought. And then you jump further, right? So it's like we just said, keep putting that bar further and further and further. And, allowing yourself to feel the discomfort, because that's going to start feeling more normal than the safety. And it won't feel as scary. So just allowing yourself to know that you are wired for safety. That is our natural nervous system response. But once we can teach our nervous system to expand, then your reality is going to change. And so I invite you to try one of those techniques that I talked about in this episode and allow yourself to re-listen to those and just figure out which one you're going to try this week. And I always give my clients healing work And this is your healing work as listeners. I want you to try one of those techniques. I want you to start bringing awareness to your situation, whatever's happening. And I really want you to give yourself love and compassion, because this is not easy work. Trying to move yourself from safety and fear into feeling uncomfortable and allowing change to happen is not an easy journey. So I want to end with this mantra for all of you. I am safe to grow. I am safe to be seen. I am safe to step into change. Okay, let's take a nice big breath in, and we're going to do it one more time. Big inhale and exhale. Good. I am safe to grow. I am safe to be seen. I am safe to step into change. I appreciate you all so much, and I appreciate you listening. And I'm so glad that you're with me on this journey of moving from fear into trust. Until next time.